viewers, Tomo back again, this time with a helpful hint on repairing a torn speaker cone. Obviously paper speaker cone, metal, plastic, this wouldn't apply to those. And here I have an Eminence, just one of their generic speakers, SPKR 90012. Really the cost of a recone kit would be cost prohibitive, and as you can see, this is really a basket case. Really, this repair is the only one I have that's damaged to show you. It's not something that I expect any type of exceptional results out of, but I'll be able to show you exactly what you want to do. So if you have a simple damage, a simple tear in your speaker, you know, you put something in the back of the speaker cabinet and it poked through and tore a V into the cone, this will be a fairly easy fix for you to do, and when you're done, it will be, the sound will be, I would say, probably rather indistinguishable from the undamaged speaker. Of course, resale value, that's another thing. Nobody wants to buy a damaged speaker even if it works perfectly. But when I'm done this will work. It's not going to sound as good as it should, but it will work. This is a technique that a lot of people use in vintage radios. You can't get the speakers anymore, and they will go through and they have their old speakers and they will cut a piece of cone out of one in order to build a patch to glue into another one. And you know, it works well. Guitar speaker is a little different. Home stereo speaker can be a little different because you're talking about higher volumes and a whole lot more movement on the cone. But if you follow this procedure, it can really save you. You know, you damage your speaker and you need your amp working, you can do this and be back up and playing a gig, no problem, with very little cost to you. Now this speaker, I should have taken a picture before I started, but I wanted to make sure that I could actually line up the pieces as I put it back together. So this was, I was given this, it was sitting on a shelf, and apparently things got piled on top of it, which not only poked compound damage through the cone. I glued there already as a test, so that was torn down. It was torn up here, this was caved in. The center cap is obviously dimpled inward, but to make matters worse, whatever was in here stayed in here. So this cone is actually sunken down, and there's what's down here, the suspension down there is called the spider, and that's actually sunken in, and I've been keep exercising it, flexing it upwards, trying to get it to stretch back into at least close to its normal position. And that gets in the way of aligning these pieces. So if your speaker gets damaged, first thing you want to do is you want to remove it from the cabinet, and if you can't fix it right away, any spots that are, let's say you damaged a V into it, you want to get some support in there to hold it into place, because the longer things sag down, they start to distort, and the more they distort, the more this cone starts to lose its natural curve and starts to take on a new shape. It gets harder and harder to align these pieces, and sometimes in this case, for instance, you're going to have to do a little section at a time until you get everything lined up as close as possible. And when I'm done, you know, this speaker will just be a you know, for using for test, you know, things that I really don't care about, or just having a spare on hand for emergency. Some of the supplies you're going to need to do this repair, you're going to need a product called tacky glue. It's kind of like white glue, but it doesn't dry as hard and stiff or as brittle as white glue would. It's very flexible, it's clear, it mixes with water, because we're going to thin that. Going to need a little bit of water. Going to need a little container to do some mixing. And the glue, I usually do a roughly 50-50 split between water and tacky glue. If it's a little too thin, I'll add some glue, vice versa. It's not rocket science, so don't sweat that too much. And last but not least, and possibly the most important, you're going to need tea bags. And you want to get this double-sided type here. And you want to get a name brand. Don't go to dollar store and buy whatever junk is there. You're going to want to get like Tetley, Nescafe, Red Rose, whatever. I don't know what's out there. Simply because you get the dollar store brands, you make some tea with it. Sometimes you find a cup full of tea leaves. It's because the bag broke. You need the stronger material of the name brand tea. So another thing you're going to probably want to have on hand is just some wax paper, and you'll just tear it up as needed. That's just so that on this initial phase of the repair, we're going to put the wax paper in there so that it doesn't adhere, doesn't wind up gluing to whatever support material you may have to put into the back. So a lot of times you're going to have to align the paper, and I'll usually just use paper towels, and I'll stuff that back there and fidget things around until I get it to where it's aligned to where it has to be, and then I'll apply my glue. A lot of times you will need to do it in sections. So for instance, for this demo here, I'm going to just do that section right there because I will not be able to get the rest of this lined up properly. So I will work my way across, and on a major repair like this will be several days in the making. So I'll glue there and let that dry. If I'm able to glue maybe over here separately and get two of them done in one shot, let that dry, and then work my way forward until finally I'm all done. So let me show you on this section here, because that lines up pretty well. Like I said, if you've torn your speaker and you're fixing it right away, you're probably not going to have too difficult of a time with it. But if it sits on a shelf for 2 years and get something piled on top of it, you can have some headaches. Okay, so that is lined up there. Then take whatever tool you like. Here's a good example. It's I'm sitting here as I'm doing the video. This glue thickened up a little bit, so I want to water it down a little bit, and I want it thin enough so that it will soak into the paper and bond that joint to hold it together, so it will be good for the next step, which is really the repair. This is just to hold the two sides together. And I'm probably expecting a little too much as far as alignment goes on this baby, because it is so far gone. Okay, so after you get the glue spread there, you just want to take a Q-tip and you just want to smooth out any excess that might be in there. just so that you don't have a big ridge going down the crack. And I'm going to let that dry overnight. Now, like I said, that's not a structural repair. That's just basically an alignment repair. I'm going to get everything glued back together here so it's on one piece, and then we're going to move on to the reinforcement stage. This next step is completely optional because it's completely cosmetic, and that is I'm going to take the tea bag material, and I got some black stamp pad ink, and this is just so that you don't have a big white patch visible, that it'll blend in better with the speaker. Not perfectly, but definitely better. And just take a utility blade like that and spread it out nice and thin. So get a little more of that up there. And as you can see, it does spread very easily. So I actually should have put it a little bit up higher, but you get the idea. And then we're just going to let this dry. I'm going to do another sheet of this so I have it on hand. I don't know exactly how much I'm going to need. We're now ready to place the patches over the repair areas. Now, I'm going to be using, like I said, the tea bag material. I am also in the high stress areas because the damage went up into the surround, and the surround will do a lot of flexing. We are going to reinforce that area with, instead of tea bag, we're going to use coffee filter for in there. And I'm going to do one other check, and if this was a typical repair where you just have a gash or maybe a horseshoe tear in the middle of the cone, not too much of an issue. But in this case, like I said, this speaker is really beyond repairing. It looks to me like it was sitting on a shelf, something got thrown into it, and either over time it tore through it or something else was dropped in there, tore through it, and then it was left sitting like that with some sort of items with weight in there. And I don't know if you can see it, but the speaker cone comes around, and then there's a big valley right in here, and this whole cone area over in here and here is all distorted to the point where I couldn't even line it up. It's just beyond repair. So in a case like this, I'm going to flex the cone, and I'm making sure once again that there's no rubbing of the voice coil down underneath there. I'm just grabbing and lifting up evenly. Voice coil is not rubbing, and I'm looking to see if anywhere in the repair, and you want to do this too, is shifting like that. Getting just a tiny bit up in here. So on this repair anyway, I'm going to use coffee filter, just so I have a stronger patch there. And then when we're done, we'll flip the speaker over, and we are going to patch the underside the same way that we do this repair. So I have my coffee filter, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up here, and I am going to just score a mark like that, and I'll cut along there, and then I'll cut roughly, in this case much wider, probably an inch to 1.5 inches beyond, to do the patch up here. The damage is all the way through here, and of course over here also. So like I said, up in there you're going to get a lot more movement, so you want a heavier duty patch. But in the main funnel area of the cone, the tea bag will work out perfectly. And as ugly as this looks, and as bad as it is, when I'm done, this speaker will work fine. It'll get you through gigs. Sound quality, well, that we don't know. But as far as durability, it will hold up. It'll do its job. I'm going to start with our tacky glue, and I mixed probably 1/3 to 1/4 water to the tacky glue to thin it out a bit. And I'm going to start up in here. May even want to go a little thinner. And I want to get an idea of how big our patch is that I have. That's good. Just rub it into the cone. I think I'm going to add a little more water, loosen this up a bit. You don't want it as watery as before because we want to fill all the little porous holes that are within the patch. We want that to fill in. Then you want to carefully smooth it into the glue. Water this down a little bit more here. Loosen it up. And we just want to paint through and saturate this patch. And it is porous enough that if there's a little area that you don't have glue, the glue will go right through from the top. And will saturate right down to the actual paper cone. We want to make sure of that. Work it into the ribs of the cone if your cone is in fact ribbed. I'm taking a clean Q-tip and I'm going to wipe over it, take off some of the excess. And remember, it's always easier to add more than it is to take excess away. So I'm going to let this dry, or I'm actually going to move on to the other patches, get those done, and then we'll come back and we'll look at it for the next step. Well, the speaker is looking better already. And now I'm going to do patch on the surround, at least this section here, the bad area. Hopefully I got enough glue. And let's see how we fit there. And in this case, I will peel it back. And it looks like I'm going to run out of some glue to mix up some more. Peel one side back, lay it down, work it in. And especially the tea bag patch once it has the tacky glue on it, it is very flexible, and you can conform it to any surface that you're applying it to. I'll do the other side here. And it looks like I'm going to have to put a little patch in there. And once this dries with these black colored patches, and this, in this case with this speaker, with this Marshall cabinets behind a grill cloth, you won't even see this. What did I just do there? Smooth that out. And like you see me doing, smooth from the center outward. Otherwise you're going to catch the outer edge and you're going to crinkle it up on you. Okay, I'm not going to do it on camera, but I'm going to put a patch in here. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to patch the underside, and then we're going to inspect and see if we just need to add some more glue to the surface after it's 100% fully dry. So that will be tomorrow. Okay, I'm all done here. I did the back side of the cone as well as the front. And once again, I used the tea bag up in this area here. And in the flex area, front and back, I used the coffee filter, which is thicker and stronger. If you happen to be doing this on a speaker that has a lot of, you think there's going to be a lot of movement or flexing along the repair, go ahead and use the coffee filter for all of that. My last step after everything dries is I look at the patches and see if they look porous. If they look porous, then I will put on another coat of watered down tacky glue. It really depends on how much water you've added into it, whether you have to do that step. In this particular instance, I got the glue thick enough when I mixed it up that I actually did not have to put in the second coat. Now, once again, I'll say that this is an extreme case. This speaker really is FUBAR. But that being said, even on this speaker, this repair will work. As far as the sound goes, that's, I don't know, that's to be seen, especially at volume, whether I'll wind up with some buzzing or if it's just a speaker that you're not satisfied with the sound of. But once again, even in this severe case, it will work. But if you have a simple tear, just one cut or maybe a loop, that you're not going down beyond the dust cap, and especially if you're not going up into the surround, this speaker, this repair is a permanent repair, and in all likelihood you won't notice any difference whatsoever in the sound, and that could save you $100, $200, whatever the value of the speaker is. So, well, if you like this video, if you found it helpful, please like, please share, but above all, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.